That's what I think the problem is. We need to broaden who we can sell these cars to at whatever price point it might be.
On average, in the lower end of vehicles, what the stuff that I buy, it jumped 100%.
We still haven't seen any real downward pressure in pricing to the degree that we think we should.
What are you doing as a consumer if you want this Jeep?
You're not really getting $48,000 worth of car. You're getting $48,000 worth of inflated car.
All right, Ray. So 2024 was a very interesting year. And what it has done is it's led us into this market where, okay, now there are a lot of uncertainties going across the market for a lot of these manufacturers. We have cars that are really just absent from a lot of the big three. That's one thing that we have this article from Automotive News. They really talk about. We're going to talk a little bit about interest rates, what's happened to those, and really just an overall market supply problem for a lot of these auto manufacturers. And I want to ask you, what do you think is probably the biggest thing that's affecting this market that we experienced last year that now it's really becoming a big problem for a lot of these manufacturers?
I keep saying this, and I guess I'll say it till I turn as blue as my shirt. We have an affordability crisis here in America. I started saying that like 3.5, 4 years ago. Truth be told, I meant it then. I mean it now. We have, in my opinion, the widest chasm between those who can afford to buy a new car and those who can't than we've ever had. And I believe in my heart of hearts, and still until that really gets addressed, that we're headed towards an I can't even say it. It's going to be yeah, that's the word. The zombie apocalypse. I can't say it. That's what happens when you turn 73. Damn it. But I just think that we're all kidding ourselves if we don't figure out a way to broaden the market, and what manufacturers perceive to be a healthy market really is not.
And I feel like another thing that's outlined in this article that's very interesting to me is that buyers gain more leverage as inventory grows and also discounts grow. So what we're seeing is I believe right now, manufacturers step in and try to prevent this apocalypse from happening because they see it. They see it happening at these dealers. When I go to these dealerships, I see these vehicles stacking up everywhere. And I know we have reports coming out. Okay, Ford has the best sales that it's had in the last 4 years. But here's the thing. Ford's level of inventory has not been close to what it was in the last 3 years of themselves. They should be hitting the cover off the ball right now. That's what should be happening. But we're still not even close to where we were pre-pandemic as far as the amount of sales that a lot of these manufacturers need to have. And the manufacturers have played a lot of this margin game, and that's what has happened over the last 3 years that has really put us in this situation where now they have to start. I mean, we're hearing it from Ram, right? The rumors are, okay, 35% across the board. And this is what manufacturers are going to have to do to actually start moving metal. Because here's the thing, they want to have fire sales on all this old inventory, because the only way that manufacturers can sell new inventory to these dealers is if these dealers get rid of the old inventory. So what these dealers are screaming to manufacturers, all right, you got to help me do it. And in a lot of ways, these incentives, like it's saying in this article, have to grow if these dealers are going to be able to move a lot of this inventory.
But even though here's the dilemma as I see it. Even though we know that incentives have gone up, profit margins have gone down, average transaction prices have gone down slightly. Even though that's all happening, it's nowhere near at the rate or pace we need it to happen. Average transaction prices, as interest rates go down slightly, average transaction prices tick up slightly. Why is that? Because 85% of the people are payment buyers. And if the interest rate goes down a half a point, well, you can keep the customer's payment the same and not discount the car as much. So we still haven't seen any real downward pressure in pricing to the degree that we think we should. We know that there's one segment or a major segment of the market that grew last year, and that's vehicles priced $30,000 and below. That segment of vehicles, whether it be small SUVs or crossover vehicles or even sedans, actually grew in sales volume in 2024. Big SUVs and pickup trucks actually declined in sales volumes in 2024. But average transaction prices still remained about $48,000. So it indicates to me that we're still primarily targeting people of means as opposed to the vast majority of Americans that barely get by when it comes to who the customer base should be. And that's what I think the problem is. We need to broaden who we can sell these cars to at whatever price point it might be.
And here's what ends up happening when you have these manufacturers who are going to the upper end of the market. Well, it pushes a lot of those consumers that Ray's talking about that need to be able to buy new cars into the used car market. And what we've seen is that a lot of these, 2, 3, 4 year old used cars that have good miles on them that are kept up very well. Well, those prices are going to the moon also because these consumers who can't afford to pay that average of $50,000 for a brand new car, well, they're having to tear down a little bit. They're having to trade down. And it ends up that, okay, they're still paying $35,000, $40,000 for this used car because that's what they can get approved for. But really, those new cars should be in that range for these consumers to buy, so it doesn't push up the upper end of the used car market. And what happens in the used car market is when one tier of the market gets pumped up, then it trickles down all the way through because you have about three different tiers of buyers on the used car market. I'm a used car dealer. I see the space. I go to auctions, see all these guys that buy. And you have the upper end tier of dealers that have more luxury cars. They have a newer version of cars. They have that $25,000 and up range of cars that they're buying, keeping on their lot.
Mm-hmm.
Well, some of them will have to tear down a little bit, and that pushes the median prices up, and those dealers get squeezed out and they get pushed down to my stuff. My stuff's $5,000 and under. And over the last 3 years, we've seen almost 100% increase in what I have to pay for that kind of stuff. And I know we talk about the used car market and the prices jumped at the peak. It was like 43%, I think was the number for used cars. That's on average. In the lower end of vehicles, what the stuff that I buy, it jumped 100%. Stuff that I used to be able to buy for $1,000, those same cars 3 years later were going for $2,000 on a wholesale level. So anytime you have any hiccup in the market, this is not a hiccup. This is a complete vomit at this point. But anytime you have some segment of the market that shows some pain or shows production loss or shows consumers that are either they're too willing to buy or under whatever happens in the market, it's going to affect all of the market. And this is what we're seeing right now. And this is one of my biggest frustrations being a used car dealer is that, yeah, prices are coming down now and we're seeing that. But the last 3 years have been really, really, really hard.
Well, think about this. Prior to the pandemic, the average transaction price for a new vehicle was probably somewhere around $35,000, $36,000. It jumped up to almost $50,000 about 2 years ago. It's sitting around $48,000 today. Prior to the pandemic, the average transaction prices on pre-owned cars was $22,000. Today, it's $28,000. And it's not like this $28,000 used car is really a $28,000 used car. It's still a $22,000 used car. It's just everybody has to pay a premium to get their hands on it at the moment. And so when you've had that much volatility in pricing, both for new and used, it creates a situation where there's fewer and fewer people who find themselves comfortably in the market, either for new or used cars. Because on the used car side, a $6,000 swing, at $20 for every thousand, a $6,000 swing adds about $120 to $140 to somebody's payment. A $12,000 swing on the average selling price of a new car, you're talking about what? $240, $260 that it increases the payment. And you're not really getting $48,000 worth of car. You're getting $48,000 worth of inflated car.
All right, new channel right here. So if you haven't already, please like, subscribe. It's free for you, and it really helps us out.
It's still probably a $36,000 car that you're paying 48 grand for. And that makes everything unaffordable for people. If the average new car payment today, $750. Average used car payment today, $550. 5 years ago, it was $300 and maybe $400 or $500. So this is just pushing so many people out of the market for both new and used. Once you start adding maintenance and gasoline and, well, insurance, and we know insurance is just going to continue to go up because, well, all these natural disasters, insurance companies are going to have to pay. Where do you think they're going to get the money from? They're going to raise premiums on everything. So it's just going to become, I don't know, less and less affordable for more and more people. That to me is a recipe for long-term disaster.
So I have a question for you. I know that we've been talking about, okay, the manufacturers are adding incentives, they're adding special interest rates, things like that. But we're seeing that it seems like it's not enough. So what has to come now? You work for a franchise dealer. You were able to deal with inventory management, pricing, all this kind of stuff. What does it now take from the dealership to get some of this metal moved? And is it a thing that it just needs to be more coming from the manufacturer, or does the dealer play a part in this?
Well, the dealer plays a part in it, obviously. And I believe there was an article today that I read it somewhere. It might have been Car Dealership Guy, that of the large publicly traded dealer groups out there, the average profit per dealership last year was $4.1 million. And you think, that's a lot of money. Until you realize that 2 years ago, it was $6 million. So the amount of profit that these dealerships are making has dropped by 50%. 6 to 4, I don't know. Is that a third? So it's lost $2 million. Now, don't feel bad for the dealers, because prior to the pandemic, the average profit for the dealership was about $2 million. So they're still sitting at double where they were. Okay. But it indicates that dealers are making less profit per vehicle sold over the last 2 years than what they had been. So yeah, every dealer is begging their manufacturer to increase incentives and increase incentive spend to the dealer as well as the customer. But the dealer also realizes, in order to move the metal at this particular point in time, they have to agree to larger discounts and lower selling prices in order to convince the customer that they should go ahead and purchase the vehicle. So it falls on everybody. But yeah, the dealers are feeling it. They're impacted by it tremendously.
Yeah, so I had a motive behind that question because I found this earlier and I wanted to get your take on it and kind of ask you a question. So I found one of these Gladiators, and we know
Yeah.
that these Jeep Gladiators are some of the hardest vehicles for dealers to sell. We know that Jeep has rolled back production on them. We know that they have already announced that MSR. This was even before any of the rumor mill of MSRPs going down. Jeep actually announced that they were lowering the MSRP on these Gladiators coming out next year. So this is a 2024 model. This is not a 2025. They got 2025s coming in. But if you see in the top right there, they have the MSRP listed of $42,000. You have the dealership discount of $3,000. And then you have a 2024 national standalone 15% below MSRP. And that's $6,000 off. My question to you is that 2024 national standalone discount, is that coming from the manufacturer?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That's coming directly from the manufacturer. Okay, so the manufacturer's eating most of it, but the dealer's got to eat some too. Where the dealer says, "Okay, we'll contribute $3,000." More than likely, the dealer could contribute more if they had to, but
okay,
you could see where it's the vast majority of it's falling on the manufacturer because the manufacturer just got so. Full of themselves that they thought they could charge anything for these vehicles and people would keep buying them. And what they found out is, well, no, they passed a point of no return and people aren't willing to buy them. So, the everybody knew, especially when Carlos Tavares resigned. At that point, everybody at Stellantis knew on a corporate level this was going to cost Stellantis billions of dollars in order to bail their dealers out of the excess inventory that they were sitting on. And we're starting to see it. And it's also, and it's been costing the dealers for the past 18 to 24 months because the dealers have been sitting on all this inventory and they've been paying floor plan interest on all this inventory and they've been taking shorter deals to sell the inventory. So it was burdensome to not only the dealer body, but now it's becoming a huge financial crisis for a company like Stellantis. But if they don't do this, what's the point of producing more vehicles if they have no one to sell them to?
Right. So this Jeep right here, it's a little over $9,000 off that $42,000 MSRP. So that's between 20 and 25%, probably somewhere around 22 to 23% that they're taking off of it. So my question to you is, if you were think back to whenever you were doing it, if you had an advertisement like this online, was there more wiggle room whenever the actual customer came in, or was when you did some kind of deal like this where you're taking almost 25% off a vehicle, was it pretty much set in stone?
Okay, so here's the salesperson answer to that question.
Okay.
Is there any wiggle room?
Give me two answers.
Yeah, I will. Is there any
right.
wiggle room left? Well, you think we're going to advertise our second best price? Okay. We're going to advertise our best price to get you in here. Now, having said that, and even if it is your best price, if the customer says, and you've been sitting on this car for 323 days, and the customer says, you get me another $500 off and I'll take it. There might not be $500 worth of wiggle room left, but you might counter with, what if I could get you $3? So even though the answer would be, we're not going to advertise our second best price, if it means you're actually going to leave here with this vehicle and I need to save you another $200, $300, $400, $500 in order for that to happen, I'll find $200, $300, $400, $500. But the salesperson answer, the way the salesperson is trained to answer is, you don't think we're going to advertise our second best price? Why would our second best price get you in the door?
Yeah. All right. Now what's the Ray answer on that then?
You do whatever the hell you have to do. You take whatever loss you have to take. The longer it sits there, the less it's worth. Okay, so every day it sits there. As the new car manager or a general manager, you could go, it's going to be worth less tomorrow than it is today. Let me just take whatever loss I need to take today to get rid of it. And so that I then have the cash to go out and buy something that I hope I can make a profit on. That's the Ray Shefsky answer. You move it at whatever cost, and you hope that the dealership you're working for has deep enough pockets that they can absorb this loss. And the hope has to be that parts and service are doing their job extraordinarily and pulling in enough profit for the dealership to offset these losses that the new car department might be struggling with over the near term.
So let's put you in the shoes of a potential buyer, and you're interested in this Gladiator. You see the advertised price with everything knocked off is $32,828. What do you go into the dealership, or do you even go into the dealership? Do you call a bunch of different dealerships and try to pit them together? What if you are interested in this particular Gladiator right here? You see this price point. You're listening to all these videos talking about rumors of 35 to 60% price cuts for Jeep, Dodge, and Ram. What are you doing as a consumer if you want this Jeep?
I could email the dealer. I might call the dealer. I might even show up at the dealer. And I think the greatest strength would be actually showing up at the dealer, because you're there and you literally could drive it home. And I might say to him, "You got yourselves a deal at $32,000 plus fees. Let's go." Oh, and by the way, I don't want the dock fee to be more than X. Pick a number, because I don't know where this dealership is, but most dealerships today, dock fees are anywhere from $5.99 to, well, if you're in Florida, God knows what. It's an infinite number in Florida. Because I've seen dock fees as high as like $14.99 in Florida. So I think that's the shot you take as a customer. You make it $32,000 plus state fees, and I'll drive the car off your lot. And you won't have to advertise this one anymore. You can advertise its cousin right next to it that's been sitting here just as long as this one has.
So this one's in North Carolina, so I can guarantee you that the dock fee is about $7.99.
Okay.
That's the average I looked up across all dealers in North Carolina is $7.99. That's ridiculous.
$800.
Yeah.
So you might say to them, I'll pay you $32,000 plus state fees. Oh, and by the way, I'm not paying you an $800 dock fee. I'll pay you a $400 dock fee. I shouldn't pay any dock fee, but I'll pay you a $400 dock fee. So if you want to show that I paid the $800 dock fee, then make it $31,200, and you can charge me the $800 dock fee. As long as it's $32,000 before we start adding taxes, I'm fine.
So I find that interesting. You wouldn't try to go lower with everything that's coming out, with the struggles that that Jeep's going through. You wouldn't try to have a number with a 2 in front of it.
It doesn't hurt to ask, but at that point they'll just throw you out. I mean, because realistically, if they could sell it in the 20s and they wanted to get rid of vehicles in a hurry, they'd advertise them in the 20s. Imagine all the people they could bring in if they advertised that at $29,995. Okay, if they broke the psychological barrier of $30,000, it was under $30,000, but they're $3,000 away from that, and they I'm pretty sure they didn't leave themselves $3,000 worth of room. I don't know that they've left themselves $800 worth of room. But at a certain point, consumers can get so carried away that the offer that they make is so ridiculous that the dealer won't even have a conversation with them. If it's advertised at 32,800 and change, and you walk in and say, I'll pay you $29,000. Well, the salesman's going to say to you, hey, it was an absolute pleasure meeting you. I got to go talk to a real customer now. They would have advertised the 20s.
Yeah, so that's interesting. Can you, as a consumer then, I mean, you've been on the other side of this, can you actually hurt yourself in negotiation by just coming in way too hot right in the beginning? And does, from the dealer, the salesperson's perspective, does that just kind of shut down? And can you actually maybe even get a worse deal if you're planning on buying it no matter what the amount is? You're just trying to get the best price. Can you actually hurt yourself in that negotiation just by coming in too hard?
Well, let me put it to you this way. You bought a house last year,
Yeah.
okay, and you probably know other people that have bought houses, and there are people who go to look at houses, and let's say the house is $400,000, and they look at the house and they like the house, and they go to the real estate agent, okay, we'd like to make an offer. We'd like to offer $320,000, $80,000 below asking. And the real estate agent's going to caution you and go, well, you know, that really might just piss off the seller with such a low ball offer. You sure you want to do that? How many times have you heard of people that made such a low ball offer that they couldn't even get a counter offer from the seller? Okay, it shuts the seller down, and even if this customer was willing, even if you were willing to buy it for 350 or 360 or 370, you're never going to find out because you pissed off the seller so bad that the seller's not going to play with you anymore. Well, you don't think the same happens at a car dealership? How many of those do you think that salesperson's seen go out the door at 29,900 some bucks? None. So when a customer comes in and goes, I'm ready to take the car, I'll give you 29.5 for it. Well, you know, that's what the salesperson knows in the back of his mind. I've never seen one go for under 30,000. Never seen one go for under 32. I'm not wasting my time. Okay. And the way I used to handle it, I mean, I remember having a negotiation with with customers one time, and every time he'd make me a low ball offer, I would just stick out my hand and I'd say, you know, it's really been a pleasure meeting you today. And he'd go, no, 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 no. I go, yeah, 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 yeah. It was an absolute pleasure, but we got nothing more to talk about. You know, at a certain point, you shut it down, and that's what happens.
And it's funny you say that because we deal with this on a daily basis at our used car dealership, even on the lower range. Like
Yeah,
we'll have a car that we're selling for $3,500. Somebody will come in, test drive it, say, I really like the car. Will you take $1,500 out the door? And I was like, just, all right, give me the keys back.
yeah.
Yeah.
Why
Yes.
why are you insulting me?
Yeah. And it's like I think you are right, even on the new end side of the spectrum, where it just kind of shuts the negotiation down. It's like if you're offering me this, you're not actually a serious buyer,
Exactly.
and you're wasting my time. So I
Yes,
think it can hurt.
and that is human nature. Okay, to when somebody insults you, it's to human nature is to, well, I'm not going to deal with you anymore. Okay, and you can't take somebody's property, whether it be real estate or a car, whatever it is, know what they're asking for, and then ask for some ridiculous amount below that, um, and without hurting their feelings. And I know there's plenty of people who are going to say, well, who cares if I hurt the salesperson's feelings? Nobody. But you still ain't getting a car. You know what? Other than pissing off a salesperson and hurting that salesperson's feelings, what have you accomplished? You drove there. You looked at the vehicle. You spent time. So other than pissing somebody off, what have you accomplished? You're no closer to getting a car than you were before you drove there. So offers have to be based in some sense of reality. And it's not that hard to find out what other people have been paying. It's not all that hard to find out what the market is. And so yeah, you're not going to get a $42,000 Gladiator brand new for 29. I don't see that happening. Now, could I be wrong? Might there be a dealer out there that would do it? There might be. I kind of sort of doubt it, but you know, it could be so. And let's face it, you know this as well as I do. You can see prices like what we just saw, and doesn't mean the dealer is going to be willing to sell it for the 32.8. You don't know all the fees that are going to get. Oh, this has the North Carolina protection package on it.
Got the friends and family package on it.
Yeah, so that suddenly that 32.8 gets back up to 36.8. I mean, I saw somebody sent me a video from TK's garage where he found a dealer in Louisiana selling gladiators for $18,000. No,
What? I want to buy one of those.
they're advertised for $18,000. We're in Louisiana, for goodness sake. Okay, what do you think you're really going to go into the dealership and they're taking 52% off the vehicle? They are not. That includes every rebate and any incentive that nobody qualifies for. So I mean, certain things are a game.